It's 4 o'clock on a Monday, and you know what that means. It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi TV Live. Better bring down my volume. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the big show. Sorry if I sound a little hoarse. Let me get the chat room open. Hope you are all doing well on this fine Monday. I'll send out our thoughts to all of our members and friends in South Carolina. I hope the floods aren't hitting your doorstep. We're actually getting some rain as I'm broadcasting. So if you hear tick, tick, tick in the background, it's the sound of the raindrops hitting the window frame, the metal window frames on my office. Let's see. Scott Hansen says, on tonight's Taxi TV menu, we're serving baked meatball sandwiches and steak fries served along with our homegrown tomato salad with cucumber and onions and our homemade focaccia bread and a glass of Guinness. Enjoy. Awesome. Hello, Mojo, Peaches, Brian Kent Thomas, Adriana, Les, Flufferpuff, Mark Doyle, Waddy JP. Hello, everybody. I've got a frog in my throat. I am more than a little wiped out. Last week I had to fly to Orlando to meet my new grandson, my first grandchild. There he is, little Dylan Schwartz. So I flew there and was there Friday through Sunday. And then after getting back from there, was in the office for a day just cramming a bunch of road rally stuff. And then on Tuesday, had to fly all the way to Israel for another family function that I could not miss, a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And arrived there on Wednesday, was on the ground Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, flew home, arriving back in LA yesterday. I am toast. I am more than, thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody. I am more than a little jet lagged. I do not sleep well on airplanes, especially sitting up. I tried the sleep collar thing. Didn't work worth a damn. Tried to do a bunch of work. Couldn't for a lot of the flights because I had people next to me with water or sodas sitting in open cups on their tray tables that would have landed on my laptop had I opened it, I'm sure. So I am just toasted, beyond toasted. But I'm here, and we're doing a cool show today. This is for a listing that we ran that deadlined, I believe, on September 4th. And it was listing number U150904PO. And the listing read, contemporary pop and or pop rock songs, male or female vocals, female preferred, are needed for a $30,000 to $35,000 buyout deal by a production company working on a fall ad campaign for a popular female shoe/fashion website. They're on the hunt for lively, ad-friendly, up-tempo songs in a general stylistic wheelhouse of acts like Katie Tiz, Neon Trees, Hearts Revolution, etc., etc., etc. Please take a careful listen to the references that they picked to get a general idea of what could work. I would play you those references, but every time I do that, YouTube ends up killing the video because they don't recognize the fact that it's an educational show, and they kill the audio on the YouTube version of the show. So I'm not going to play them. Hopefully you guys that submitted did listen to them. Quoting the source, the client was very happy with their music selection for the last campaign, and are looking for similar energetic female pop songs with a really memorable chorus. Female vocals are preferred, however, we are open to male vocals in the style of Neon Trees/female-friendly bands. Instead of the ad celebrating women/shoes in groups, the fall campaign will focus on individuals and their personalized style. One spot will follow an uptown girl, the other spot will follow a downtown girl. And there may be a split screen spot. In addition, the uptown and downtown girls meet at the end. Please submit full-length, hook-driven, ad-friendly songs that sound like a real pop cut with an inviting vocal performance and overall sound that puts some pep in your step. Think about the confident and upbeat nature of female shoe commercials, and that is so true. And imagine how your song can fit the bold, confident, and empowered women in the campaign. You get the idea. Give them something they can strut to with immediately engaging melodies, hooks, lyrics, and polished production. The chorus... There's a typo. The chorus will a big focus. The chorus will be a big focus for this campaign, so be sure yours is awesome. Lyric themes should be broad, general, and universal, so you'd be wise to avoid lyrics with references to specific dates, times, places, brands, other brands, and profanity. It's probably not a great idea to submit lyrics about buying shoes, but ideas that loosely fit, and there was no pun intended on that, that loosely fit the idea of stepping out, strutting, etc., could potentially work, but you don't need to limit yourself to those ideas. Please do not copy or rip off the reference artists in any way, shape, or form. Use them only as a general guide for tempo, tone, and overall vibe. Creative fee for this will range between $30,000 and $35,000 all in for 6 months. They mentioned they might have some room to adjust the budget/terms, so all deals be made on a case-by-case basis, depending on the success and length of the campaign. No publisher splits. You'll keep 100% of the fee. You must own or control the master and copyright to pitch for this. All songs be screened on a yes-no basis by a taxi screener handpicked by the company. If I remember correctly, I'm just doing this from what little memory I have left. Ooh, let's give that a little better angle there. I think the screener brought this in. One of our screeners has a friend that not too long ago, or some time ago, got a job at an ad agency, so he's starting to get a lot of stuff from them, which I know you guys like. And this screener has exceedingly good ears and has been working for us for a long time, so it's no surprise to me that they trust his judgment. And I do remember that stuff we sent them, I can't remember if this is the same company. It might have been the same company for the beer commercial. I don't know. I just remember somebody commenting that they were really happy with a bunch of stuff that we sent them for something else. And not only happy, but impressed. So with that, the way we're going to play the game today on Taxi TV is, let me scoot that over. I'm going to play you something, and we are going to ask you to vote +1 if you would forward it, -1 if you would not. And I'm curious to see how you guys line up with the screener. So without any further delay, let me fire up my little flying saucer with a CD in it. And let's start out by playing a song called Talking As We Please. And here we go.
For the better, not the worse, it's time to put our future first. We can be
All right. I'm telling you, I am out of it today. Sorry, guys. Cast your votes. +1 if you would forward that. -1 if you would not. I am very curious. These are tough listings. The ad listings in particular, I think, are always a tough call. So I'm really curious to see how you guys would vote on this. And I'm not going to tell you what I think until after I see what you think, because I don't want to influence the vote. And hello, Alan Grandy, who's watching the show with Scott Hansen. I'm scanning for a count. All right, the feed has stopped, so I'm guessing the votes are all in. I don't know. Oh, generic, but a +1. I could see a young woman strutting to it. Great track, lot going on. Vocals need some work. All right, that was actually a forward. And I was, I'm kind of with you guys. I would say that probably 80% of you, maybe 85, 90% of you said you would not forward that. Sharon Hahn says, only like the intro. Jim Carvalho gave it a +1. Flufferpuff says, toilet overflowing again. Well, not really relevant to the music, but okay. Texas Polly says 5 + 1's 32 - 1, so whatever that ratio is. Mojo says got the right energy and sounds modern, but Mick and Keith. Oh man. Anyway, I like the energy, and you could go either way. I think we all noticed that the very, very reminiscent, like exactly reminiscent of Sympathy for the Devil. But I think Mojo pointed out that you can't really copyright a riff. Some people might look at that and go, that breeds familiarity, makes for ease of listening, which, ad agency people always tell us, give me something edgy, give me something, it's like really, really hip and cool and edgy. And in the end, they all sit in a conference room, and by the time it goes through the first person that hears it, and then that person's boss, and then the creative group, and then the VP of advertising from the company that's actually the product or the service, it goes through this whole process. They end up with stuff that's very kind of, I always say, would work in the flyover states or in the Midwest. So for that reason, I think the Sympathy for the Devil reference might work in this particular song's favor, but it could go the other way. I don't know. It's a tough call. I like the fact that it had kind of a contemporary distorted sound to it, but I couldn't understand a lot of the lyrics in the verse parts. But there was something about the energy, and I do remember having the thought, there was a little breakdown in there, and I thought, you know what, I would edit the breakdown to the front. It's very editable, by the way, which is very good. I would edit that breakdown. I think there was a drum turn that went into a breakdown. Edit that to the top of the spot, and then come in with just one set of the Sympathy for the Devil thing, and then find one or two lines. I did hear one line go by, and I went, oh, that might be the reason that the screener forwarded. There was one line that just flew by, and I caught it. Now I can't remember it. But with good editing, this could work out super well, but it wasn't obviously, like in its current state, ready to go as is. So there you go. That's my take on it. Les Sampu said, this is so true. Safe is what they want. They do. Every now and then you hear a commercial and you go, now that was, somebody really had their thinking hat on for that. They did a really good job of picking the music for that spot, and I love it when I hear stuff like that. Peter Rayhill says it was catchy, but woman shoeish, not too much. There was something, it did have kind of an empowered strut, not a strut like a musical strut, but it made you, you know, that was my best Mick Jagger right there. Have you ever seen Robin Frederick at the Road Rally do her Mick Jagger strut? Priceless, by the way. Don't forget, we are just slightly more than 1 month away from the Taxi Road Rally, and it's going to be awesome. And the hotel is like all the $123 rooms, I think, are now gone. They do have some rooms left at $143 a night. Then they're going to jump up to $189 a night. The hotel, of course, is trying to maximize its profit. Obviously, the hotel business is bouncing back, so they are less liberal about cutting our members who are late to sign up any slack on that, which is sad, but I understand it. Flufferpuff says, look at all the ads for Warby Parker and all the online shopping sites. This track fits right in. I don't know what Warby Parker is, Flufferpuff. Is that a U.S. company or a site that's commonly known in the U.S.? I don't know, but that's a good observation. You know, I've got to admit, I did not go look at other shoe type sites to see what would work, but then again, I wasn't screening it. All right. Okay, so let's move on to another one. I can cross that one off my list. And now let's go to this one. I remember this song from like 3 years ago, but I'm not going to say anything more because I don't want to influence any voting whatsoever. And this one is called Amazing.
How'd you get so amazing? How'd you get to be mine? The view from here is so crazy. The top of the world is divine. This is just what I wanted, just where I want to be. Whatever you got, you flaunted, and baby, that got you me. All alone with the Rolling Stone isn't picture perfect enough for this one, but oh, you keep me guessing. You're amazing, and you're mine. You've got the ease of a dove. You've got me falling in love. Carry me up to the clouds, playing
Don't
the
vote
system
early.
loud.
You could influence other
How'd
voters.
you get so amazing? How'd you get to be free? The questions that you are raising are simple as can be. How'd you get to be vexing? How'd you get over my head? The view from here is perplexing. Next thing you know, I'm dead. You got the memo to keep the tempo. This life's a version that I won't let go of. Oh, you keep me guessing. You're amazing, and you're mine. It's crazy. You're amazing, and you're mine.
All right, cast your votes now. And I forgot to mention to you guys, don't vote before the song finishes because then you're just going to influence other people. And we wouldn't want that. As Scott Hansen says, there is no taxi voter front. Okay, so we had, I don't know, like maybe a half dozen plus ones go by before. Okay. I mean, it was, I think, unanimous. I don't remember seeing any -1s go by and be ready to be shocked, but that was not forwarded by the screener. Now, the reason I mentioned this song is I remember this song from probably 3 or 4 years ago. Remember when we had the Campbell's Soup thing? We ran an ad that, or listing that was supposed to be for a Campbell's Soup commercial years ago. And we got in some killer music, and then some members did an end run and contacted Campbell on their own, got us yelled at by Campbell's, and they ended up not using anything from Taxi. And this was one of the things that was forwarded, and they absolutely loved it. Now, here's where the rub is. When I heard this one today, I immediately recognized it, went, oh, slam dunk, I love it. And then I thought, this is a different version. And tell me if I'm nuts. I'm going to play a little bit of that one again.
The top of the world is divine. This is just what I wanted, just where I want to be. Whatever you got, you planted, and baby.
There's nothing in the track. And that immediately grabbed my attention. When I started listening, I thought, oh, okay, so whoever this is just took a different approach this time, and surely they will add some other instrumentation. It didn't need a lot, but that like growly kind of distorted Fender Rhodes bass on the bottom end sounded really nasal to me. And after a little bit, I was going, oh man, that for me was almost a deal breaker. And then the fact that it didn't add any other stuff. Now, do I love the female vocal? Yes. Do I love the claps? Yes. Do I love the whistle? Yes. Do I love the attitude? Yes. But in the end, the screener had to forward something that's ready to go. You know, was there a built-up part that was editable? That's a tough word to say with jet lag, but you know what I'm trying to say. I didn't hear it. So there you go. Hector Ho says, perhaps no big chorus. Jim Carvalho, oh, now the truth comes out. Didn't love the whistle. Texas Polly says, well, it's a little hard given this hi-fi audio output. As I explained on many, many shows, there's just no graceful way to really play the audio through Ustream without wearing headphones and having a switcher and bouncing back and forth, and it's just a train wreck. I don't know what the screener said to the member. I don't have the critiques for each one in my hand, but it just never fully developed. Just a little bit more instrumentation. But listen to remember what's it called, a Dynamite piano? It was a mod that was done on Fender Rhodes, actual Fender Rhodes back in the day. And listen to this.
That got you me all alone with the Rolling Stone, isn't picture perfect enough for this one, but oh, you keep me guessing. You're amazing, and you're mine.
So all it is, tell me if I'm nuts, is just the bottom end of a Rhodes playing drums, hand claps, whistle, and the vocal. It really needed something else.
You've got the ease of a dove. You got me falling in love. Carry me up to the clouds. Playing the system loud. How to get so amazing.
And way down there in the mix, I just heard some more clear sounding Fender Rhodes notes, but really way down in the mix. I love it. I love the song. I love her vocal. I love the attitude. The old version that I remember hearing for the Campbell's thing years ago, I think was very different. And yeah, somebody, Traveler 101 says, needs real bass, low. Taxi members thought it was a forward, but it was not, or 34 Taxi members. Yeah, you know, look, this is the reason I do these shows. The members don't always agree with the screeners, but I'd say 95 to 98% of the time the members do agree with the screeners. And I can see why this one wasn't forwarded. It's a case of, I love the song, and it's got the right attitude and a great vocal, but it would have to be something would have to be done production-wise, just something added to it. Lily Allen, Mojo says no, Lily Allen is a reference. And that's right, the Campbell's thing, I think, asked for Lily Allen type stuff. Mark Doyle says, remind him of Deborah Harry. It was flat across the board. It was. It just needed something else. But anyway, you know, there you go. We play it as, you know, we're honest. We don't pick stuff that we know that you're going to vote the same way that the screener did. Maybe what I should do is do one of these shows and have the screener on the show with me. That'd be a cool idea. Jim Carvalho says it needs a killer kick. All right, so let's listen to yet another one. Let's listen to this. This is called The Strut.
Strutting, strutting. Strutting, 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 hey. Strutting, 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 strutting with your friends, people screaming, hey, hey. 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 Looking good, feeling fine, wanna play, hey. Looking good, feeling fine, wanna play, hey. We're having good times, lights flashing, people dancing, girls strutting their style. Excited in the air, left to right around the crowd with their hands in the air. We're having good times, lights flashing, people dancing, girls strutting their style. Excited in the air, left to right around the crowd with their hands in the air. Strutting with your friends, people screaming, hey, hey. Strutting with your friends, people screaming, hey, hey. Strutting with your friends, people screaming, hey, hey. We're having good times, lights flashing, people dancing, girls strutting their style. Excited in the air, left to right where the crowd with their hands in the air.
All right, cast your votes, ladies and gentlemen. +1 for a forward, -1 if you would not forward it. I see Charles Brotman in the house. Yo, Charles, how are you, man? Good to see you. Needs more cowbell. Have we ever done an episode where somebody didn't say that ever? Can always count on Scott Hansen. He says the bats want their cave back. Do you stay up late at night and write this stuff, Scott? I think you should be a stand-up comic. Maybe you should do like an open mic comic night at the restaurant. Waddy JP says +1 if it had more reverb. Paulie's giving us his usual total, 34 -1s, 7 +1s. There's still some votes coming in. Okay, so I think many of these things you guys identified. I personally wouldn't forward that one either. I like the bass riff. It worked well with the drum track. The drum track was a little dated, but you know, not like, oh my gosh, that's horribly dated. The vocal. It was really about the vocal. The vocal was just like kind of out there. And the fact that it was kind of legato and sparse, I don't know that you would get much of it in the commercial, although sometimes that might be a plus if there's a voiceover or a dialogue. In this case, they didn't mention that, and I don't know that there would be anything other than maybe a voiceover in the tag of the commercial or something. But it just had so much reverb on the vocal. And the vocal was pitchy. I mean, it was flat, obviously flat in several places. Martin Frog says a different mix of the same elements might work. Some good house elements mixed way too low, and the delay reverb was overbearing. Yep, that was Mojo. Playing a song like that is like fishing for sharks in a pond. It was kind of cool. I don't understand that, Jim. Paulie says, it just seemed too spacey and dark. You know what? I actually wrote down darkish. I agree. That, you know, they rarely go dark in commercials. Almost always positive, you know, upbeat, emotionally upbeat, which is different from upbeat as an up-tempo. So, yeah, you know, certainly wasn't terrible, but the reverb, the amount of reverb on the vocal and the pitchiness and the fact that it was kind of darkish and mysterious, I think those were all things that made it not work very well. So I think you guys are in agreement with the screener for the most part on that one. And now let's have a listen to one called Stomping Grounds.
Hey, baby, can you walk the walk? To the back, 'cause I've been crying. Hey, honey, you can drop. Trophy wives, uptown, downtown, everyone's my stomping ground. Showing off, show myself, never saying nothing but oh, never
cast your votes. +1 for a forward, -1 if you would send it back to the farm. I'm curious to see. It's funny, you guys have mentioned like 5 different female singers that you think it sounds like. Wow, the votes are coming in quickly, like flying off my screen here. Caitlyn Jenner. I don't even want to ask what Scott Hansen means by that. I love that Polly's totaling for me. I'm sitting here doing a rough estimate in my head as they fly by. He says 7 negatives to 30 positives. Well, the eyes have it. It was a forward. And personally, I think the reason that it got forwarded was, first of all, very contemporary. And all you guys were right that mentioned, it sounds like Taylor Swift, Ellie Goulding, Adele. There were a couple others mentioned. It sounds contemporary and familiar. Somebody said that it sounded a little too familiar. I think there's a Taylor Swift song that we're all thinking of. But, sometimes, certainly in the case of commercials, sounding familiar but not being a ripoff can be a good thing because the people from the ad agency might like it for that. They think that it sounds like a contemporary radio hit, like it could be from somebody famous, but it isn't. And I think they like that. And very editable. There were sections that were very usable. It would be very, very easy to make this work. Richard Charles says it went Taylor Swift, Shake It Off, mega hooky at the end to me. It was hooky. It was just plain hooky. Okay, now you guys are getting into duck calls. I have no idea what the heck you're talking about. Anyway, I've got to say, I think I would forward that one, and I think you guys agree with the screener. So let's listen to another one, and this one is called Rich Quick.
Finally home from a long, long day. I've been working my life away. This old apartment's seen better days. That's what you get for minimum wage. Ah, city life, it don't come cheap. What you sow, the man will reap. I wanna get rich quick, don't wanna work for it. I got my right trick. I'm gonna get rich, I'm gonna get rich quick. I'm sick and tired of this daily grind. I'm just about to lose my mind.
That was not me turning it down there.
To get these piled up bills paid. I wanna get rich quick. I don't wanna work for it. I got the right trick. I'm gonna get rich. I'm gonna get rich. I'm gonna get rich quick. I don't wanna work for it. I got the right trick. I'm gonna get rich. I'm gonna get rich.
All right, cast your votes. Robbie Hancock says jazz hands. +1 for a forward, -1 if you would return it. I'm not saying anything until I see some numbers start to pop up. I don't want to influence the voting. Excuse me. Happens every time, you know. Rockstar, it just makes you burp. What can I say? Like the groove, but vocal words wrong for selling shoes. Shoe company wants to get rich. Bit dated, not a good match. Money for nothing. All right, I think you guys agree with the screener on that one. It was not forwarded. It was cute. It had something about it. I liked the girl's kind of flapper 20s vocal approach. I just don't think it worked for a shoe spot. The thought did cross my mind, what is there a hotel called the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas that runs those really quirky ads with like little people dressed in like bellhops, in an elevator with some woman dripping in diamonds with a cheetah on a leash or something. Whatever those commercials are, this could work for that, although some ad agency guys would say the I want to get rich quick thing is too on the nose, meaning lines up too closely with a commercial or a TV spot for a what do you call it, casino or a hotel in Vegas. 3 + 1. What? Oh, I see. 3 + 1s and 20 - 1. So yeah. Okay, so you guys agree with the screener. I mean, oh dear God. Red Bull gives you wings, Rockstar gives you wind. That's funny. That's the new slogan. I could hear that being used in a film. It would have to be, a funny, quirky film, funny, quirky scene. It could be used for that. Do the screeners often contact the artist and say, pull out the vocal and I'll forward it, or request other simple changes? A lot of times, almost all the time, it's a case of if we did that for one person, we'd have to do it for 5 people or 20 people, and then wait for everybody to get their fixes back. And, well, I don't really like the fix. Well, what do you mean? You told me to do this. Yeah, but you didn't do it correctly or well enough, and it just gets into a whole big mess. So the answer is no. I shouldn't say it's not an absolute. Doesn't happen often, especially in quick turnaround stuff. A screwball comedy about a heist. Yeah, I like that idea. Listing is for strutting young women in shoe commercial. Hip. That's true. Polly says, if you want some quality hot air, eat food with stevia as the sweetener. Well, not now. Nobody's going to try that now. All right, let's try another one. Anyway, you guys agreed with the screener on that one. Let's listen to another one. And this one is called Valentine's Revenge. Interesting title. Let's have a listen.
Valentine's
some of the comments today. Sounds like the chick is limping in broken heels, running mascara out to kill a dude who did her wrong. Okay, so cast your votes. +1 if you would forward it, -1 if you would not. And then I'm going to read some parts of the listing that we should remind ourselves of. Scott Hansen says, hey, Korg called and they want their cheesy keyboard tones back. I hope you're counting, Paulie, because I can't keep track. They're going by too quickly, but it looks like it's almost all -1s. All right. Looks like the voting has slowed down, and I'm sure we'll get an update. Oh, there's the update from Paulie. 29 -1s and 3 +1s. Okay. You guys disagreed with the screener on that one. And now I should just tell you that this screener has worked for and still does some freelance A&R work for one of the most powerful producer A&R people, heads of labels in the industry. So the screener has really good ears. And I know this guy well. He's been here for a long time. I've been out to dinner with him with like senior VPs of Sony, you know. He's just heavily connected. People love him because he's a great guy and has great ears. And so with that in mind, I just went back and was looking at it and went, okay, energetic female pop songs with a really memorable chorus. And I thought, well, this has a big like radio-like chorus, but it says Valentine. How the heck could you use that for a commercial? Not that it's got to say I love shoes, but it's not really female empowerment. But maybe he was listening to it and thought, I love this track, and they would just take the vocals out. Or maybe he thought that the ad agency guy would hear it and love the track as much as he did and ask for a rewrite on the chorus or something. I don't know. It was very hooky. Ad-friendly songs that sound like a real pop cut with an inviting vocal performance. It had that. Imagine how your song can fit the bold, confident, and empowered woman in the campaign. A chorus will be a big focus for this campaign, so be sure yours is awesome. And then this, to me, killed it. Lyric theme should be broad, general, and universal. So next time I see the screener, I'm going to ask him what it was that he liked about this one that made him forward it. It didn't suck, but I would not have forwarded it. I agree with you guys. Paulie says, that's when I get frustrated when the screener goes with an internal vibe based on his or her own. They don't go with their own opinion of whether or not they like it. They're always going with their opinion as to whether or not they think it could work. Do they like it in the context? It's not like, man, I think this is cool, I'm going to forward it, because they hurt their own credibility. The person on the receiving end knows that this screener was the first and only and final word on what landed on this guy's desk. So the screener is not just going, this is a cool song. I think you should hear it. He thought it was cool for a reason, or there was something usable for his friend at the ad agency. So yeah, that was a forward. Okay. Paulie, the best advice I can give you if you're still struggling with how to interpret listings is go on the forum and, you know, go in the, what's that section called? I'm too jet lagged to remember today. The one where people peer-to-peer. Go in the peer-to-peer section of the forum and post a listing, the actual text from the listing, and post a link to your song and ask your fellow members if you think that this is a good pitch or not. I'm telling you, so many of our successful members swear by the peer-to-peer section. The screeners indulge in recreational activities during screening. I don't know, do you mean like getting up and doing deep knee bends, or do you mean smoking weed? Definitely not smoking weed. I do see him doing stretches out in the screening room. Excuse me. Mojo says, and Richard Charles says, the forward section is also good, which it is. That's, who was it? Oh gosh, I can see his face. Can't think of his name. Wisconsin, total cheesehead. I love the guy. Anyway, he's one of many members who go to the forward sections whenever they don't get forwarded for a listing, or even if they don't submit for a listing. They go to the forward section and they read the listing and they look at the stuff that was forwarded. And a lot of people swear by that as a way to learn the drill. Jesse says it's raining again, South Carolina. Okay. All right. This is called The One You're With. See me scramble to find the audience in a box. Okay, cast your votes. +1 for a forward, -1 for a return. And there's one thing that was said in the chat room that I want to comment on, that, but I won't say it until after I see you guys cast your votes. Wendy Lander said, sounds like a Dolly Parton song. Um, okay, Paulie's giving us the total. We're still getting a few rolling in. But he had 28 people voted they would forward, and 8 people said they would not, and the screener did not forward it. I gotta say, I agree with the screener on this one. To me, it just sounded really dated. I mean, it wasn't bad by any stretch, but it just sounded like almost instantly dated. And the funny thing is that I saw 2 people. Oh, now I can't read my own writing. Oh, one person said, "Where's the hook?" And the next comment posted said, "The chorus is cool." So 2 people listening and commenting at the same time on the same song. One didn't hear a chorus, and the other thought the chorus is cool. So there you go. Paulie says it was about 3-1 in favor. Yeah, I mean, Richard Charles says for a measure or two, I heard Donna Summers, which would be tough because didn't she pass away? I know what you're saying. Do we ever get one of these that's a tie or near to one, or are the votes always a landslide? I don't know if we ever get any that are ties, but and she could sing. I agree with you, Dap. And Mojo says being dated was the biggest concern that he had. Yeah, it just didn't sound like it was a contemporary radio song. And somewhere it says sounds like a real pop cut. They didn't say sounds like a real pop cut from 1984. It was good for another era. I had something else I want to say, and now I can't find my note. The wah-wah guitar. Did anybody hear the shaft-like wah-wah guitar in there? That was one of the things that contributed to, in the context of the bigger track, the wah-wah guitar really made it sound kind of dated. Let's see. Ingrid says, interesting how the 2 jobs can get confused here. As a screener, it's not your job to be playing music supervisor, choosing what you think would fit a shoe ad. Paulie says in his long history of votes, meaning 3 shows, I think there was one that was close. Yeah, she had a good voice. It was good. It just wasn't right. Didn't sound like whatever it was. Sound like a real pop cut of today to me. It'd be one. I think Mojo said actually some 80s sounding stuff did get over the bar, but maybe it was 80s influenced, and was more modern sounding. This thing sounded completely like the whole thing sounded dated. You know what? This thing would get forwarded in a second if somebody needed something for a scene, background source music coming out of a jukebox or in a club for a scene in I don't know, 79, 80, 81 era movie. This would be really, really good. Waddy JP says, isn't it time for the 80s to return? They have returned. It's we get a lot of requests for stuff that harkens back to the 80s. Mojo says, actually, we're about due for a 90s revival. I'm always curious, what are we going to do when we get to 1993 revival? The revival of grunge. During the whole grunge era, there was so little music that I liked. And I remember saying oftentimes, why would publishers sign this other than for making money now, from sales of records, because you could still sell records back then, and making money on the performances from radio. But as far as having it in the catalog for the future, there was so much stuff that I thought would never, ever be a good copyright that it's not going to get covered. So I'm curious to see what happens when that stuff rolls around. Yeah, it does. This does have a chance somewhere. It just not for this. And band names were horrible. Yes, they were. No argument for me on that. Oh, man, what was the name of that one? Anyway, all right, that was number 10. Okay. That one was called Chocolate Martini. Interesting. Okay, now we're going to listen to one called Feel Alive. Anybody ever heard that guitar sound before?
I've been wanting someone to come by, someone who tells me the reasons why. 'Cause it's never easy when we have to stay, and nothing ever changes, everything just stays the same. But I just wanna know why. Tell me why I'm feeling so alive. Tell me why I'm feeling so alive. Still I wait for someone to come by, someone who tells me the reason why. Say goodbye, and nothing ever changes, everything just stays the same. But I just wanna know why. Tell me why I'm feeling so alive. Tell me why I'm feeling so alive. You and I just beat as one. Something always makes me feel alive. Something always makes us beat inside. You just gotta know, somehow you make me feel alive. Tell me why I'm feeling so 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 alive.
All right. Cast your votes. +1 if you would forward it, -1 if you would not. By the way, we had 156 submissions on this and only 6 forwards. I got to say, on this one in particular, I have not seen today, or maybe on any other show, so many conflicting opinions from you guys coming in the comments before you cast your votes. I'm really curious to see how the votes go. But it was funny. Somebody would say, you know, I like this aspect. Somebody else very shortly after would say, didn't like that aspect. Really, a lot of conflicting opinions on the voting. I'm going to wait for the Polly number. And thank you for doing those, Polly. I appreciate it. Okay, Polly's giving us the total 23 minus 1, 24 minus 1 is 10 plus. And it was a forward. And I think I know the reason the screener forwarded that one. Mojo said something that many of you echoed, which is that the intro kind of killed it. You know, Good rule of thumb is if an intro is too long and the song takes too long to develop, I mean, it's be great for a radio cut, maybe for other stuff, but a lot of times people just won't wait to get to the red meat. And this could have been the case with this one. But then the chorus, which I thought the chorus, ladies in shoes and out strutting in their shoes, feeling really good about it. Gosh, I wish I could read my writing. Tell me why I'm feeling so alive. That line, you know, he mentioned somewhere in the quote or somewhere in here, the chorus will be a big focus for this campaign. The chorus would carry it. The chorus, I would speed it up a little bit. It felt a little slow to me, but the chorus sounded like something I would imagine in a shoe commercial. So maybe this gentleman listened to it and went, I could hear that being used in a shoe commercial. Don't know. Get your swag bag, just threw out a +1. A little late, but we got it. Would a library soup make it to the chorus, though? Well, it wouldn't be a library soup. It'd be a music supervisor. In this case, it'd be somebody, you know, like probably a VP of music from the ad agency. They probably would, depending on how much stuff they get and how much, you know, we're not the only resource this guy's probably reaching out to, but if they're getting it referred to them by somebody they know personally, who they know has a great history in the industry and is kind of somewhat legendary for their ears, they might have the thought, it's like, why? When I first heard it, I thought, why did the screener forward it? And I thought there must be something good coming, and sure enough, the chorus had a great payoff. So hopefully they would go through that same process. Oftentimes, for other situations, like a song used in TV show or a film, they might not be so patient. Yeah, radio doesn't like long intros either. They really don't. Long intros are definitely a thing of the past. Yeah, long intros really, I think, were created back in the day, so it gave DJs something to talk over. And we get so little talking from DJs unless it comes in the form of a commercial these days, that I don't think they need the long intros. Okay, one more to listen to. And this one is called So Fine.
Whoa, oh, oh, whoa, whoa. Whoa, oh, oh, whoa, whoa. Whoa, oh, oh, whoa, whoa. Hang down to the boulevard, gonna cut my hair across my heart. When you walk by, I wanna reply with a side jaw drive from an 80s line. You're a hard taker, harder than the equator. You look so fine that it blows my mind every single time that I see you strut on down the street to the fucking beat. When I heart that speed, I wanna feel your touch. You look so fine, yeah, you look so fine. With every step you take, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Rolling the streets in your top jeans, and my eyes, girl, you're the queen of queens. I'm smothering myself 'cause you look like a dream. Pick me off the floor of this machine, 'cause your knockout stare is killing me. You look so fine that it blows my mind every single time that I see you strut on down the street to the fucking beat. When I heart that speed, I wanna feel your touch. You look so fine, yeah, you look so fine. With every step you take, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, can't keep my eyes off you. Like it's my only job. Take it up my way, my heart may stop. You look so fine that it blows my mind every single time that I see you strut on down the street to the fucking beat. When I heart that speed, I wanna feel your touch. You look so fine.
the ending took me by surprise. Like how I found the audience very quickly there. All right, cast your votes, guys. +1 for a forward, -1 for a return. I'm curious to see what you guys say. And the funniest thing I saw fly by in the comments section was Adriana said, sounds like the Killers, and somebody else right after it says Christian rock. I thought that was somewhat diverse, although you could have Christian rock that certainly comes from a Killers, influence. A lot of +1s rolling in. Nigel Harris says, chorus does it again. You look so fine. Yep, that's what I'm talking about. Earlier when I mentioned that the ad agencies very frequently default to the stuff that appeals to people in the Midwest or the flyover states. They go for the common denominator or maybe the least offensive denominator. I think the chorus on this one really nailed that. Pedro Costa says, breezy and summery and fun. It was all of those. Some people mentioned they felt it was a little fast. Might be, but you know what? The editor would probably tweak the speed if they felt that was the case. Anybody else knows? It was here in my office. It was fairly mid-rangey in the vocals. The bottom end was there. It could have been just a smidge hotter, but I'm not sure if it was because the mid-rangey stuff was kind of so apparent. Peter Rahill says, my beer's empty. Let's wrap this up. There's no drinking on Taxi TV. You have to wait for the Road Rally bar for that. Yeah, almost everybody. Paulie, do you have a number for us yet? Or did it fly by and I missed it? Yeah, Traveler 101 says it even said striding. It had some great lyric stuff in it that I think was very appropriate, and if they pushed any farther, it might have been too much on the nose, but I think it worked. Oh, Polly might be in the restroom or something. Bob Meddy's in the house. Yo, Bob. Hey, Andy. All right. I don't know where Paulie went. Anyway, Sharon, don't be depressed. The listings are so out there and diverse. Well, it's what the industry asks us for, and not out there. You got to remember. I'm guessing you might be early in your membership. I could be wrong, but a lot of people feel that way when they first start out at Taxi, and then they realize all kinds of people around them are getting deals. How are they getting deals? Because they're pitching stuff that actually answers what the listings are asking for. And watch more Taxi TV, and you'll see that. Paulie's gone, I think. Anyway. Sharon says, if I'm new and don't know anything. You will. You will learn stuff. This is a great group of people, and a great thing to do is watching Taxi TV. You will learn so much over the course of your first year membership. Don't give up, because we give you all these wonderful tools. Anyway, that looked like it was probably 90% +1s on that. Wow, Bob Meddy says first year with Taxi, he was 0 for 37. And Bob has been on, and Bob's had tons of placements, some really, really good placements. So there you go. Mojo says the screeners are almost never wrong. Somebody mentioned earlier, I think it might have been Paul, he said screener numbers on the ones we've disagreed with, and I'm not sure if he meant, not sure what he meant by that. But for those of you who watch his show regularly, you know that, I mean, it's the screeners and the members watching the show almost always vote the same. There have been very, very few times where there's been a major disagreement. Sharon says, can't wait for the rally. I can. I got a ton of work to do. Being out of town twice, basically I was gone for a whole week, which I couldn't avoid. I mean, birth of my grandson and another big-time family commitment on the other side of the world that I had to fly over for. And believe me, I think yesterday was about all in from arriving at one airport and leaving another. And a plane change in the middle. I think it was about a 23-hour travel day. And I was in pretty bad shape when I got home. You know what? I actually had the thought as I was landing yesterday at LAX how much I appreciate the taxi members that fly in from Asia and Europe and South America, Australia. People fly in from all over the world for the road rally. And I thought to myself, for this trip, it was about the same, because I think I was on the ground. I arrived in Israel on Wednesday evening. I think, yeah. I arrived in Israel Wednesday afternoon. I left LA on Tuesday afternoon, arrived in Israel on Wednesday afternoon, I think, and then left on Saturday night and was back in LA on Sunday morning. So I was on the ground for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 3 days. And if you count a couple hours on either end of that, I was there for like 3.5 days, about the length of the road rally. And it gave me a whole new level of respect and appreciation for those of you who fly in from around the world. I mean, I appreciate anybody who comes to the rally, but you got to really want to be there. If you put your butt in a coach seat on an airplane, and have somebody else's bald head staring you in the face because they tilt their seat all the way back. I had 2 crying babies about 6 feet away from me coming back yesterday. It's just like every bad thing that could happen travel-wise. I was a little closer to one of the restrooms than you would want to be. And it was a large plane with a lot of people who were apparently using that restroom. I got to tell you, it was never... It was one of the least pleasant flights that I've ever been on, and I actually have... I will show you. This is how much traveling I've had to do, which I don't do much anymore, but I used to do a lot of traveling for taxi, going around giving taxi seminars and stuff. But there is, if you look carefully, somewhere on there, it says Million Miler. Yes, folks, I have logged more than 1 million miles on United, which used to be Continental back when I logged those miles. So with all that flying under my belt, I've been on a lot of bad plane flights, but that one last night or yesterday, whatever it was, wow, it was it was bad. Scott Hansen says, taxi members, check out Taxi Artist of the Month, Alan Grandy. Absolutely, congratulations, Alan. Get your swag back says, I'm going to visit my family in Israel after the rally. Pretty cool. I got to say, I love it over there. I'm not a huge fan of Tel Aviv, but I love the country. There's so much great stuff to see, and so many different civilizations have occupied the country. The Romans, the Greeks, the Turks, the British, over all these different periods of history. So there are ruins all over that you can see. A lot of them are just like sitting out in the middle of a field. There's no gate and you drop in or use a pass or a barcode or anything to get in. There are places, we were driving down south. We were very close to the Gaza Strip the other day. And all of a sudden, there's just like this old stone building that had to be at least 600 to 1,000 years old, just standing out in the middle of a field. Really, really cool. Wow, Sharon Hahn did 99,000 just last year. That's impressive. Most of my big years were in the 50 to 75K range. Wow, Polly speaks Hebrew. I don't. Other family members do. Stephen Carey, Michael, you deserve first class. Well, sometimes I get the free upgrades, but not so much on the international flights. But they used to be really, really, really a lot better with the upgrades before the recently fired CEO took over. All right. Anyway, thank you guys. I don't know what I'm doing for next week's show, but we will be back next week with another exciting episode of Taxi TV. And if you haven't registered for the Road Rally yet, it's November 5th through November 8th. It's in Los Angeles. It's an airport hotel right next to LAX. It takes you like 5 minutes to get there on a free shuttle. You won't need a rental car. It will be a mind-blowing experience. Ask anybody who's ever been there. It's life-changing, and very few people, I mean, literally every year I get one or two people that send letters saying, I didn't like the rally, but I think those are the people that probably wouldn't like much of anything. So there you go. I hope this was educational. I'm a little shocked that we didn't all line up at the screener so much on this one, but it happens. We're pretty transparent. We don't hide the scary stuff. So there you go, guys. See you very soon at the Road Rally. Until next week, I bid you adieu. Bye-bye. Have a great week. I'm going to get some sleep.